Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today we've got another workout video. Posted a workout video a couple of weeks ago and it seemed to go down pretty well. I got a few messages from people saying that they found it really helpful, so I thought it would be good to do another video that was kind of similar, but this time it's going to be a back workout. Like a lot of girls tend to neglect training their upper body. They just want to build their glutes and tone up their legs, and they're not really interested about like anything to do with their upper body. I was exactly the same when I first started getting into weightlifting. I only ever trained legs. I didn't want to have like massive muscly arms, so I just didn't see the point in training it. But it's actually really important to train your upper body as well. There are two sort of main things that I want to mention. The first one is that training back can really help to improve your posture. So especially these days now where like a lot of people are working at desks and we're constantly like hunched over phones and hunched over computers and stuff, a lot of people's shoulders tend to roll forward, and then it kind of results in them having like a bit of a rounded back because they're so used to sitting like this that the muscles in their back get really loose and they lengthen, which means that their shoulders sort of roll forward. So when you train your back, you're going to be tightening up those muscles along the top of your back, which means that it's then going to help to pull your shoulders backwards because they're going to be a lot shorter, a lot tighter, and yeah, it's just literally going to help to take you from this to this. So the next thing that I want to mention kind of links to the title of this video, that training your back can help to build an hourglass figure. I just quickly want to point out that I'm not saying that doing these exercises once or twice is just magically going to give you an hourglass figure. I'm not saying that at all, but by doing them frequently, like maybe say like every single week, if you implement a few of them into your training program and consistently work on them week after week and apply progressive overload, it is going to help to build muscle, obviously alongside like your nutrition and everything. But yeah, it is going to help to build muscle on your back, which is then going to help to make your back look wider. And when you've got a wider back, it can make your waist look smaller. So although your waist might be exactly the same size, if you've got more muscle on your back and you've kind of got a broader back, it's then going to give the illusion of a smaller waist, which is then going to help with that hourglass figure. So that's where I'm kind of coming from with that. Obviously there is going to be a lot more that is going to go into it, but just kind of taking that one factor into consideration. If you personally don't train upper body at the moment, but an hourglass figure is something that you maybe want to achieve and want to work on, I do definitely think it would be beneficial to you because, like I said, building up your back can give the illusion of a smaller waist, so it's a win-win really. So yeah, I've put together some of my favourite back exercises and just ones that I feel work well for me, so I've put them all together. I'm going to run you through each one, talk you through form and technique tips and everything like that, and yeah, I hope you find it helpful. So the first exercise that we're going to look at is a bent over row. I think a bent over row is actually probably one of my favourite back exercises. I don't know what it is about it, I just really enjoy it and I always really feel it in my back, which is always good. Bend at the hips. You want to make sure that your back is nice and straight. Pull the bar up to your tummy, bend in your elbows, make sure your elbows are coming out the back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together at the top and then take the bar back down. I sometimes like to add like a few second holds just at the top of the movement, just so I can really like squeeze and really feel it, work the muscles. So yeah, that's sometimes like something that I want to do if like I'm struggling to feel it one day, or if I just kind of want to increase the intensity. I think adding a little pause is always good. One thing that I do want to mention is I do these with an underhand grip. So I would have like my hands like this and the bar would be over the top rather than like my hands being over the bar. I just personally feel like that works better for me. I feel it more in my back that way. Or like try both and see kind of what works for you. Obviously different things work for different people. I know a lot of people that do prefer having an overhand grip, so I think it is just down to personal preference. And both work your back pretty much the same amount, so there's not really much difference in what one you go for. When you do the underhand grip, it does sort of target your biceps as well, but it is mainly targeting your back. So like I said, both are pretty similar, just kind of go with whatever one you prefer. I normally go for like 3 sets, sometimes 4 depending on how I'm feeling, and I normally do like 8 to 10 reps. So up next we have got a lat pull down. A lat pull down is a really common exercise. I feel like people that aren't 100% comfortable in the weights section are always pretty comfortable with a lat pull down. It is quite a basic movement, quite simple, but there is a lot that can go wrong with it. So I did a wide grip lat pull down, which is this kind of most common type of lat pull down. And you want to have your hands sort of like slightly wider than shoulder width on the bar. Sitting down, back nice and straight, shoulders pulled back. You're going to pull the bar down to the top of your chest, really squeezing and taking it back up. Pull it down top of your chest and taking it back up. So yeah, there are quite a few things that I see all the time, like people sort of doing wrong on this one, and it can take away from the muscle that you're supposed to be working. Maybe if you do a lat pull down and you don't feel it down the side of your back like you should, then maybe try changing it up with the things that I'm going to mention next. The main sort of thing that you see is people pulling the bar down way too far. When you're doing this movement, your elbows and your forearms should be straight up and down in line like that. Whereas when you pull the bar down too far and you kind of go down past your chest, it'll cause your elbows to sort of come out the back. I have done a little demonstration sort of showing what that looks like. So hopefully you'll see like the difference between like the straight arm, the coming straight down and like kind of flaring out to the back. So that is a really common thing that I see a lot of people doing. Not gonna lie, I used to do it like that before I sort of knew what I was doing, and I never ever felt it in my back, and I was always really confused. I was like, oh, like I'm doing it right, like why am I not feeling it in my back? And the reason was because my elbows were flaring out the back and they weren't staying in a straight line. But if you have been doing it wrong, then try and correct it, because like I said, you're going to be working the wrong muscles if you're doing it wrong. So yeah, that's sort of like the main thing to sort of focus on this one. I always go for 3 sets on a lat pull down, aim for sort of 8 to 12 reps on each set. So up next we have got a single arm dumbbell row. There are a few different ways that you can do this one. So as you're going to see from the demo video that I'll show you in a second, I'm kind of doing it off the back of a bench, but you can also do it like on the bench, sort of like kneeling on the bench if you're not quite comfortable doing it the way that I'm doing it. Basically what you want to do is you just want to have your working hand on the dumbbell and your other hand on the back of the bench. Take a few steps back so that your back is sort of in a nice straight line, pulling it up, elbow out the back, squeeze and taking it back down. The reason that I like to do sort of single arm stuff is because most people have one side that's stronger than the other. So me, for example, my right arm and my right leg is a lot stronger than my left side. So when you do exercises like with both arms or both legs, then that stronger side tends to compensate and work a little bit harder because the weaker side can't quite keep up. So you've got the stronger side that's overcompensating and continuing to get stronger, and that weaker side that's just kind of like staying where it is because it's not got the chance to sort of like push itself to kind of reach that same level. When you do single arm exercises, it forces both sides to work equally. So say for example you do 10 reps on your right arm, you'll use the same weight and do 10 reps on your weaker arm, and it will feel a lot harder on your weaker arm. It's kind of forcing it to work that little bit harder that it wouldn't in a double arm exercise, and yeah, it's then gonna like sort of even out the imbalance. Yeah, I do always like to just include like a single arm exercise or a single leg exercise just for that reason. It is really beneficial. Like I said, most people do have one side that's stronger than the other, so it is going to be beneficial for most people to include something like this in their training program. For these, I do like to go slightly higher reps, so I normally stick with 3 sets, and I usually try and go for like 10 to 12 if I can. So moving over onto the cables for the next exercise, we have got a cable rear delt fly. So you can do rear delt flies in like a lot of different ways. There is a machine that some gyms have that you can do it on, or you can do it with dumbbells or a resistance band or whatever. I personally find that doing it on the cable is what works best for me, because it tells you in the name what muscles it works. So it works your rear delts, which are essentially part of your shoulders, but because they're like on the back, it's technically like a part of your back. So I guess you can sort of do it like on your shoulder day or your back day or whatever. It kind of comes into both categories, but I always like to do it for back rather than shoulders because that's personally where I feel it more. So for the movement, you're going to be using both sides of the cable. You're going to have the cables set to sort of like just above sort of head height. You're gonna cross your hands over and take the opposite side of the cable to the hand, and you're just gonna pull it out to the side. Again, really squeeze your back and then take it back round. So your hands are kind of going in like a sort of like half circle motion. I do like to hold and squeeze for a few seconds at the back of the movement, and it just kind of helps me to like feel it a little bit more. One thing to mention is to try and keep a slight bend in your elbow. If your arms are fully straight through the whole movement, you are still going to feel it, but I personally feel like it doesn't work as well. So if you have that slight bend, it kind of just gives you that little bit extra squeeze, if that makes sense. You probably want to go quite light on this one. The first time I ever did this, I totally overestimated how much I could do. I was like, oh yeah, like I'll go for 10 on each side, and I could not even move it. So yeah, start off really light. I usually do 3 sets on this one as well, but for this one I do like to go quite high rep, so sort of 10 to 15 reps. And the last exercise that we have is face pulls. Again, these kind of mainly work your rear delts, which are technically a part of the shoulder, but because they're on the back of your shoulder, it comes across onto your back. So I always use it as a back exercise rather than a shoulder exercise. You're gonna have the cable sort of set to the same height as you would for the rear delt fly, kind of eye level, head level type thing. You're only going to use one side of the cable for this one. I would normally use a rope for this one, but the gym that I filmed this in they don't have a rope for some reason, so I just used like 2 handles and it works just as good. You're going to take a few steps away from the cable to begin with, so make sure you've got enough space so that you can get full range of motion without the weight start hitting. And yeah, essentially you're just going to pull the rope towards your face and make sure that your elbows are up. Don't let them fall down, nice and high, sort of in line with your shoulders, pulling it towards your face and then letting it back out. Again, I do sometimes like to add a little like few second hold in just to really squeeze. Main thing just to sort of focus on with a face pull is just making sure that your elbows aren't falling down. So like I say, like you want to be pulling it, making sure that your elbows are sort of in line with your shoulders as you're pulling it. You don't want to kind of like bring it like down here, really nice and high, pulling it, squeezing and taking it up. And like I said, you'll just feel it like across the top of your back. Again, 3 sets on this one, and I normally go for sort of like 10 to 12 on this one. So yeah, that is all the exercises that I'm going to take you through today. Obviously there's a lot more back exercises out there that you can do, but I just sort of picked like my favourite ones and the ones that I tend to like go for quite often. I find that they all work really well for me. I personally like quite enjoy doing them all, so I always like to make sure that I've got them in there. I hope you found it really helpful. I feel like I said at the beginning, a lot of girls don't train upper body, so I just kind of wanted to make a video to sort of like say that it is important and kind of give like some of the benefits of it, and also like help with like technique and stuff, because I feel like it can be quite intimidating when you've not done something before and you're not like 100% sure how to do it right. So I just thought it would be quite helpful just to like run through some tips on form and technique and like how to set up the exercises and stuff as well. So yeah, I hope you found it really helpful. If you do try out the full workout or just any of the exercises, let me know how you get on, or if you've got any questions about anything that I've kind of mentioned, then again just send me a message on Instagram and I'll be more than happy to help you out a little bit further. So that is it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll be back with another video next Wednesday.